Hi, I'm Brian Poole, and welcome to episode 2 of Greenscreening. In this episode, we're going to continue on with what we talked about in episode 1. We're going to look at some student and teacher projects first, and then we're going to look at how we use video in our learning management system and how we can incorporate it with lessons in general, and kind of some blended learning basics and philosophy. Then we're going to go a little bit further with OBS Studio and talk about how to capture online video that we want to use in our classroom, either with our LMS or as backgrounds for green screening, as well as some advanced green screen applications, how to get green screen animations from online and how to incorporate those animations in with the lessons that we're recording to try to add a little bit extra to whatever we're trying to do and bring across to our students. Again, I understand that we're not entertainers, but the more we can do to capture the imagination and the attention of our students, the more successful we're going to be in our online learning presence in general. Okay, let's get started. So this is an example of students using green screening. This is our ag department doing one of their ads for the strawberry sale. They are standing there like this. They're not at a desk. This is cropped right here in their picture, and then he's just taken and set them in front of a picture of a desk and put the emblems and stuff on there to make it look like they're sitting at a news desk doing their broadcast on this. That's one student example, and we're going to look at some creative teacher examples next.
Hey there, National Trail Elementary.
TJ and JT here reporting live from our studio at Blazer Time TV. Here's how our show works. Twice a week, we will broadcast from remote locations around the globe.
Your goal for the week will be to use the clues to figure out our location and complete the challenge.
Monday's show will be the main lesson for the week, featuring art and music clues.
You'll need to tune back in on Wednesday of the same week for the big location reveal.
I want to interject here. This is our elementary school art and music teachers, and I basically showed them OBS Studio in 5 minutes, actually less than I just did in this class, and set them up. Initially they were using construction paper that was green, and then they moved to, I got them one of the green screens that I use in my basement, and they're just using a Logitech 1080p camera. Those mics have nothing to do with anything, they're just for decorations, and they ran with stuff that just made me laugh like crazy. So I'm going to let you keep watching theirs, and we're going to look at a couple more of their videos too.
You will also receive your challenge activity, which is your assignment for this week.
The assignments will be a combined art and music lesson, which you will find on the Moodle page.
We want you to upload a picture of your assignment and turn it in before the next Monday's episode.
And remember, it's better to be a blazer.
Explore!
Where in the world are TJ and JT? Where in the world is your guest for today?
Welcome back, Blazers. I'm Captain James Cook.
And I am First Mate Zachary Hicks. We are reporting to you today from our first mystery location.
Put on your thinking caps and get ready for the clues. Here we go. Clue number 1. Let's take a listen to some music from our mystery location.
Clue number 2. Traditional art from this location includes carved wooden masks and petroglyphs.
Petroglyphs, huh? Clue number 3. A nickname for the most popular instrument in this location is called the jumping flea. Would you like to take a guess? Let's see what's in my bag. Ooh.
Clue number 4. This location is home to the happy face spider, and it's only found in our mystery location.
They're really having fun, aren't they? I want to point out this is their first video. This was done with the lowest resolution camera that we had at the time. I'm not even sure what that one was. It was done with this was a tablecloth from Dollar General. So you can see from the one we just saw, which they made more recently with the 1080p Logitech camera and a real green screen background, the difference between that and this. It worked, and they used it, and they had fun with it, but as soon as I got them a little bit better materials, their resolution improved, and their ability to green screen really improved in their videos.
I don't like spiders. Okay. Clue number 5.
Many artists, like George Rodrigue, use animals as their subject matter. In fact, animals are in the top 10 most popular subject matter in art.
Hopefully you can see the difference between a low-end camera and a high-end camera. This is still a webcam. It's a 1080p Logitech webcam that they mount on a tripod so that it pictures from level with them. The quality's way better, and with the good green screen background, you can see how much better the green screening is.
And do you recall the book by John Lithgow that I had mentioned last episode? Helpful advice.
I really wanted you to see a couple examples that weren't mine from both students and teachers, but I think that's enough and we should get moving forward. I did want to point out, which I'm sure you saw and I annotated there, the difference between having a higher quality background like one that you can buy online versus going with the Dollar General tablecloth. It makes a pretty big difference. And the other thing there that made a big difference is going from a regular low-end, inexpensive webcam to the better 1080p Logitech, which obviously we saw a big difference between that as well. But I think we've seen enough examples. So I want to talk about what we do with all these recordings that I'm talking about. Now, I'm going to show you on our learning management system, which is Moodle, but I'm sure that Canvas, Schoology, Google Classroom, which is in itself a very limited version of a learning management system, you can do these things there in a different manner. I'm going to show you how we do them to kind of show you a little application option of how you might think about doing them in your classroom. So the first thing is, I talked about recording every class, and I do record every class. Those are on my class calendar. So if we were to go in, for instance, in my hardware class to February 3rd, and you click on that date, the recording of the class is posted right on the calendar. And up top, it kind of says the subject of it. It was the conclusion of the memory section before my memory test. But every class is there. Every class is recorded. And in this case, I used OBS Studio with a separate camera off to the side. So I'm still in the instruction, but it's not head-on. It's not green screen, but I did use OBS Studio with it. Like I said previously in episode 1, it's not as good. I'm not talking directly to the student. But if the student missed the class, it's better than just a screen capture. The students have said that when they try to make up classes, if they're trying to make up 40 minutes of class, and in an 80-minute period, there may be 40 minutes of instruction broken up that I paused in between, and the video may be 40 minutes long. This one is 35 minutes long. We won't watch it. It's broken up from an 80-minute classroom, and the idea of going to watch that if I was quarantining, if I was homesick, if I missed class for a field trip. Without you, it's really grueling. I did that for years, from 2005 until probably 2017. I'm not in the video. It might have been 18. When actually my next door neighbor, the science teacher next door said, hey, I like watching your Tech Tuesdays. Or rather, he said, I like what I get out of Tech Tuesday, but I don't enjoy watching them because there's nobody in them and it's boring to watch a screen capture. He may have said grueling to watch a screen capture. And that's when I went, oh, okay. And I added a camera across the room. It's got an optical zoom. I'll add that in the links on this. That one is a good one just for this, just for putting it on a tripod. It's actually mounted to my lab desk on the other side of the room and points over, so that when I'm teaching, I'm kind of looking at it. You can see there, I'm kind of looking at the camera because I'm right-handed and the camera's over there. So that's number one. Number one is include it in an easy place for students to find your instruction. I used to use, well, I still do use YouTube channels, but playlists are hard to find. Which one's the one I missed? Calendars for students are really, really easy. You can post it on your Google Calendar. If you don't have a full LMS and you have a Google Drive that you just drop your videos in, get the shared link, post it in your Google Calendar, you've done the same thing. Obviously, you can link that Google Calendar to your Google Classroom if you're a Google district. If you're a full LMS district, you can put it a lot of other places as well. And what do I mean by that? So if we go back to this section, Chapter 5, the CPU, I have an online book. I've taken away all of my printed reading material and replaced it with online books so the students have access to that material every single day. Whether we're one-to-one, take-home high school, so every single time they take their laptop home, which should be every day, they can get that material if they need to. The other thing is, I found that putting all my material online is really UDL. It allows my students that are on IEPs, on 504s, to review that material and get it that way. Plus, because it's posted on the screen reader, they can use Chrome. Because it's posted on the LMS, they can use Chrome screen reader with read and write for Google Chrome to read them the material if they're behind in their reading comprehension. Last year I had a student that was 5th grade reading level, and he ended up with my class with an A-. In fact, the IEP kind of said he wouldn't be able to take my class. The counselor said, hey, I don't know if he should take your class because of his reading comprehension and the level of material that you go through. And my response to her was, my son is on an IEP. I expect his teachers to do all these things. Why wouldn't you think I would do all these things for students that aren't mine? So that's part of the reason I changed some of my content and pre-recorded all my lessons. So those students that don't read as well have all those things that might have been hard for them to get, now posted with the reading material and the lecture related to it right there. Also, one of the things I did when I recorded my lessons was to make sure that also in that material for my students, I also post the actual, not the one I wanted, but that's okay, the actual PDF of all the class notes that I set up to take ahead of time. So if that student needs guided notes, all they have to do is go there, click on there to get the guided notes. But all the videos that I've done are pre-recorded and put in the class book, as well as being on the class calendar. Blended learning, where does that come into all this? I have set up in my classes, in fact, let's go to those class notes real fast to show you what I'm talking about. Pauses that I didn't have before in my class. So if you go to my notes, all of a sudden you'll see a big red block. And that red spot comes up on my smart notebook when I'm teaching that says, hey, stop now. And that's the point where in the lecture in class, the students would go and say, hey, they've got to take the memory view quiz, formative assessment. That's also where the video is also posted. So if a student is online, it'll say on the calendar due today is memory intro review. They know that they have to watch this video, which is, I try to keep them less than, there we go, that one's 4 minutes and 48 seconds. My objective is 5 to 10 minutes with a maximum of 15 minutes on any one lesson. So today's class, if you are online, might be watch this video, take this quiz on what we learned on the video to give me formative feedback. And they have to get a 90% on that formative quiz before they can move on to the project that we do later in the course. They don't have to do it today. They don't have to get a 90% right now the first time they take it. But it lets me know, okay, where were they? Because I can look at all the first attempts on the quizzes. And then as we go through the teaching process, we have this section, and then we go through this section, and there's a formative assessment every single time that makes it blended learning for the students that are at home. Number one, they can watch it anytime, any place, any mode. They can watch it on an iPad. They can watch it on, because they're YouTube embedded. They can watch it on their phone. They can take the quiz on any of those things as we move through the material. So all those videos I make are embedded on the calendar. If I taught the lesson in class, they're embedded in the book that I have all set up before we get to that section. And then in each individual lesson, they're embedded in an online blended activity that if they were there, they watch the video. If they're not, if they're not there, they watch the video. If they are there, we just take a 10-minute break, take the quiz, and then we'll move on to the next section. Next section, same thing, different video, different quiz. It mentions what section of the book that this applies to for chapter 6. And as they go through these activities, they eventually get to the point where we do our project. And in my class is very project-based learning. We do obviously lectures and reading, and then we culminate it through a project. So before they can get to the project, they have to take the pre-project skirmish. It's a quiz. But they can't even see that until they've got a 90% on every single one of these ahead of time. So that's their homework at night, to rewatch the video, retake the quiz, get a 90 to 100%. Obviously, I have students that retake it multiple times, but oftentimes I don't. They watch it one time again, get 100%, and they move on. So they've got to have a 90% on everything to see this. That's one of the things that a full learning management system does. It lets you set restrictions before this section opens up where they can see the project, choose what project they're going to do, see what the rubric is going to be, and move on. And I will say, in general, that's one of the great things about a full learning management system. You can't see all those restrictions right now, and neither can students. If I go back to my normal profile, here you can see all the restrictions that popped up. So they can't see the chapter activities and the first thing until they've done the self-assessment. They can't see the second thing until they've done the first thing. All those things, it's called having your class gamified. All those things appear magically when they get other things done. And based on who you are and what group you're in, different things appear in my class. For instance, I'll go back to chapter 5 since I'm not sure if I set it up in chapter 6. When they get down to the final class fight, the test at the end of the section, there's a chapter 5 fight. If you do not belong to 504 or IEP group, chapter 5 fight if you belong to 504 IEP group. The student sitting next to you has no idea that the thing you clicked on goes somewhere different. They don't know that you have half the test questions or modified test questions with half the options on multiple choice. That's one of the things that a full learning management system lets you do, lets you truly modify your class for the student, and they don't even know that it's going on in the background. Okay, I've said enough. That's the way we use those videos. We embed them in the calendar. We embed them in activities. Doesn't have to be a quiz. Moodle has tons of different activities that you can embed those videos in to get formative feedback. And I'm sure, having not used Canvas, Schoology, any of the other ones, I'm sure those also have the ability to embed the videos that you make into activities to make them truly blended learning activities. Let's move on to the next section, which is talking about advanced things we can do with OBS Studio. Specifically, how can we get online video using OBS video to use in our classroom with our LMS and with OBS projects. First of all, I want to talk about how to harvest a video off of YouTube. I'm going to just pull one up here. Now, first of all, before I do that, I always go over here and check that we're on auto or off of auto and onto the HD version of that video. So I've got a YouTube video up here that I want to record. In this case, I would have my mic off and I would have the desktop audio on if I wanted to get the sound of it, and off if I didn't. I've got it full screen in OBS Studio. I've got no other cameras on at all. I would hit start recording and then go ahead and start that video and then get off that screen. So in this case, I'm going to say, hey, you know what? I need to start recording. I've already previewed this once. I want to get the part when we're actually flying through the Grand Canyon. So I'm going to get ready for that. Boom, now I'm flying through the Grand Canyon. It's got some really cool video of this that we're going to use in just a second. So I've got that video, and now I want to fly through that mountain in a X-Wing. So I'm going to go ahead and go here. Now, this is a green screen video, and I just Googled green screen X-Wing cockpit to find what I wanted. And again, I'm going to go full screen, and I'm going to make sure we're not on auto. I'm going to go all the way to 1080p. I'm going to rewind this sucker, and I'm going to get ready to record it. So I'm going to hit play and come off the screen, and I'm going to start recording. And I know I want to stop on this one at 15 seconds to make sure that I get exactly what I want and no ad at the end. So I'm going to go ahead and add the first video. So I'm going to add a media source. I can name it. I'm going to go ahead and browse to where I record my videos. And I'm going to add that video in there and say okay. So now I've got this. I'm going to double click on it. Oh, wrong one. Cancel. I'm going to double click on it, and I'm going to make it loop and say okay. And you know what? I'm going to make sure it fills up the entire screen as I'm flying through the Grand Canyon. There we go. And then I'm going to lock it. And then I'm going to add another media source. Okay, I probably name it X-Wing. I'm going to go and grab that one as well and say okay. So now I've got this X-Wing. I'm going to go ahead and lock that one the way where it is. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to say I want to loop it. Say okay. And now it's just like a green screen. I'm going to right click on it and add a filter called chroma key. Okay, you can see that all went gray. You can already see the video I've got in the background flying through it. Oh, and our X-Wing isn't quite filling up the whole screen. We can't have that. Someone would notice that we weren't actually in an X-Wing. That would be crazy. There we go. Now we're filling up the whole thing. And now I'm going to add myself in a video, and I don't have a camera here. Let me grab another camera. Toss this up here, and we'll see how that works. Haven't used this one for green screening yet. I think I got it aimed at me relatively well. We'll see here. So I'm going to add a video capture device. Okay. Not that one. That's my classroom camera from across the room. Is it this one? Yep, there we go. So I just added this jellycomb camera that I just tossed on there. I'm going to make myself kind of big. I'm going to put myself approximately in the cockpit. And then again, I'm just going to right click, say filters. Add filter, chroma key. This is a $29 camera. There we go, close. And now I'm in an X-Wing. And if I had my Air Force uniform on and my flight helmet, it would add a little reality to my X-Wing fight. Let's all go on a trip right now and take a look at Pluto through a couple different ways that we could look at the same video footage. If we're in a science class and we're talking about, and this is a rendering of Pluto from New Horizons, if we're talking about Pluto, we can talk about it just like this, or we could be talking about it while we're sitting on the bridge of the Millennium Falcon doing a flyover of Pluto. When we talk about the type of green screen things that we can grab off of YouTube, there are a ton. Some of these will never fit into your class. but maybe some of them will. Maybe there's something that you can use as a transition, as an intro at the beginning of the class or the beginning of a specific session that maybe draws your students into your subject matter you're about to talk about. If we're talking about the Civil War, we can go and find that video on the History Channel or some other YouTube site that talks about what's going on actually in the Civil War. What went on actually in the Civil War. And we can interject and be part of that video. You could even be in costume like our teachers in art and music did. You can interject yourself in that lesson as if you're a part of the lesson by using Greenscreen interacted with that video. Last thing I wanted to talk about is videos that require you to write on the screen. Khan Academy is great, but Khan Academy is a perfect example of no instructor present, no video, and students can get really, really bored with Khan Academy just hearing a voice and seeing letters written on the screen or numbers. There are teachers, like math teachers, that are like, well, how do I do this for me? Well, it's actually kind of easy. If you've got an iPad, and you've got the software to cast to your screen on an iPad, which everyone at National Trail does, you could just as easily take yourself and throw yourself kind of in the bottom corner down here so that they're still hearing your instruction and seeing you when you're doing the instruction. Oops. And you're doing the instruction, but then I just take my iPad, I cast it to my screen, and I use my capacitive pen, and now I can write with really good writing. Actually, this one's one of the best ones I've seen at Khan Academy. If you watch some of the videos, the writing is not as clear as I would say that we would like it to be. You can also pull up on your iPad a picture of lettered paper that you're writing on using any of the iPad tools that let you interactive and draw. And since you're casting it to your screen, it catches through your video, it catches your audio, and it catches what you're trying to show your students, adding that extra level of you in the instruction that you're presenting to your students. So I want to show you a couple things. First of all, I want to go through Microsoft Movie Maker. I've already pre-made a short video for my staff here at National Trail that I'm just going to inject right here into the video. So it just shows you some basics how to use Microsoft Movie Maker.
Hi, today we're going to take a look at using a very simple video editing tool that's on everyone's computer. It's Microsoft Movie Maker. We have it installed on everything, and it does some basic editing stuff that is all many people need to do. So this is about how to use Microsoft Movie Maker. So to get to Movie Maker, we just go down to the Windows icon and I can just type the word movie and I should see Movie Maker come up right away. I'm going to hit enter to launch Movie Maker. The first time you launch Movie Maker, it's going to ask that you agree with Microsoft Terms of Service, so you can go ahead and accept that. And then we're launched straight into Movie Maker. All right, so let's start using Movie Maker. The first thing we want to do is import our video. So we just, when we're home here, I've just opened it up, we hit add video, and I'm going to add an example class from back in March that I took while we were still in session. Now, once I add that class, I need to find whatever it is that I want to remove, whether it's a extended pause, whether it's a student answer, maybe their audio, whatever, I can go and find whatever spot. So I can either play through the video to find it, or if I know it happened at about 15 minutes in, I can kind of scroll there. And then you can see the video on the right-hand side. The line is where it's at right now, and now I can use this to drag back and forth. I'm holding down my left key, or left mouse key, to drag back and forth to find exactly where maybe I wanted to remove. So I find that spot that I wanted to remove, and I put the mouse there, and I go up to Edit on top, and I have the button right below Edit that I'm going to use, which says Split. I just turned that into 2 videos. I then go to the place where I wanted to resume. So I find that spot, and you can see the line again. I just cursor to that spot that I'm finished, and I split it again. And now it's basically turned it into 3 separate video files. I've got the beginning, I've got this middle section that's very short, and then I've got the ending. All I have to do is click on that middle section and hit my delete key. Middle section is gone, automatically slides the other 2 sections together, and voila, I'm done. So all I have to do now, if I've got more spots that I need to do, I could go through the rest of the video and do that. I could trim off the beginning, I could trim off the end. If I wanted to, by doing the same thing. The split tool is your best friend. If you want to make sure it's what you wanted, I could just go back here, clicking on the timeline and hit the play button, and I'll get to preview exactly what happens. Did I cut out what I wanted to cut out? Yes, it's going to have a little jump there, obviously. But you know what? My screen capture slides stay the same. I just kind of hop a little bit when that happens. Hardly anyone's even going to notice that happened in the end. I should point out down here in the bottom right hand corner is a zoom scale. If I want to get even more granular, if I want to move it to 1/8 of a second, if I zoom in, you can see it just made this file huge. And then I go to that spot. Now as I slide that, let me find where I'm at. Well, I'll just put it right here. Now as I slide that, I'm sliding it in hundreds of seconds. If you look at it over here, if I really want to just make sure I just clip out as little as possible, I can zoom in. It does make it harder to find stuff. You can see I can also zoom out, so it's just, if I'm zoomed out all the way, it just shows the 2 clips. That's what the zoom lets you do. And if you want to see it a little bigger, this button right here lets that preview pop out full screen so you see what you've got full screen. Okay, that's the easiest video editing tool there is. So let's go and finish the video now to make it a video. And the save button is not the answer. Up here where you see this save button, that's saving the project that you're working on. It has nothing to do with the video. You have to export the video to be done. Okay, to export our video, we just go up here to File and Save Movie, and we have these different options. I always go with the for high definition display. That means it's going to be as high a quality as it possibly can be, and it doesn't ruin this high quality video that you just had. You trim it, and all of a sudden you end up with junk. So you go for high definition display. And it just says, hey, what do you name it as? I'm going to name it on my flash drive and put it there. And I'll just leave it what it's called, My Movie, and hit save. You obviously could name it whatever you want to. They might not be enough room on that drive. So it's going to go through and save the video. Now this editing is something that I do closer to the end of the day. It is not instantaneous. Saving a video file takes some time. So I would go, maybe during your plan period, clip out that thing, hit save movie, and then go have your lunch or go do your planning.
Okay, so the last thing I want to talk about is my choice of video editing software, the one I use all the time, which is Cyberlink Powerdirector. It is a paid one. It costs between, depending on what version you get and what's available, somewhere between $65 and $85 depending, and I really have grown to like it, and I use it for everything. So I'm just going to kind of go through a couple minutes of Powerdirector. There's tons of YouTube videos out there on how to use different things and do different things in Powerdirector. In fact, that's how I've learned to do almost everything on Powerdirector. I'm like, hey, how do I fade that out, or how do I do that? YouTube it, somebody's got a video, and I just kind of apply it to the newest version or whatever version I'm on at the time, because I have a different version at home than I do here at school. So here's Powerdirector. So this is Cyberlink Powerdirector, and this is what it looks like when you open up Powerdirector. It does ask you if you want the full version or a partial version. When you open up, obviously you want the full version. So you could see here's media that it opens with up with. Here is the preview pane, and then we've got a bunch of different levels of video that we can look at. I'm going to go ahead and delete all the ones that are here in front of me. I do that by going over here and saying empty the library because I want all that junk gone when I start. I've already got a bunch of this pre-recorded. I'm going to go ahead and move the stuff that I have pre-recorded into here and then add the things that we just did to kind of show you how I can add and edit things together. Okay, so hopefully I've got my 3 things in my video right here that I want to use. The first one is I've already pre-done the entire first section of this video. Now I'm going to pull down that intro that I just recorded. And I know that I had the volume turned way down, so I'm going to turn up the volume a little bit to try to match it with the one before so that we kind of have a steady audio. Okay, so we looked at a bunch of different... Got a little high. I'm going to pull it down a little bit. Different things. I really want to talk a little bit about video editing before. I'd say that's about even. I'm going to zoom in a little bit with my timeline to find when I start talking about it. That's probably good. So I'm going to go ahead and I right-clicked, by the way. I went up to split, and then I click on the one I went get rid of, and I remove. And if you have any other tracks, you want to move all clips so they all move together. I don't have any other tracks right now, so I said leave gap. Doesn't matter because I'm going to drag it over top of the other one, and I'm going to say crossfade. So now this video goes from one video, fades into the other video. I looked at a bunch of different things. I really want to talk a little bit about video editing before I'm all done. The first thing I'm going to show, shared Google Slides, and I've got that file that you can't find anymore on Microsoft, shared on my Google Drive that you can download and use to install on any Windows 10 computer to get Microsoft Movie Maker. It's a free option. It does work. It's not as good as what I like to use, which is Microsoft Powerdirector. But right now, let's look at that Movie Maker video. Okay, so I just introduced the Movie Maker video. You can see the lull in the conversation that I had between that and talking about Powerdirector. I'm going to go right in the middle. I'm going to split it. I'm going to delete the second half, and then I'm going to drag that Movie Maker video down here, and I'm going to take out my little intro video that I do. It ends right there somewhere. Let's see where it ends. Okay, I'm going to drag it in right here. I'm going to split. I'm going to click on it. I'm going to delete it. I'm going to move all clips, and then I'm going to drag it over top of it to have it crossfade again. So it's going to go. That Movie Maker video. Hi. Today we're going to take a look at using a very simple. Okay, so we've got this video on how to use Movie Maker. I'm going to go to the end of that and see if I don't remember if I did. Yep, I did my little fade out video on this one. We don't need that on the end. We're going to go straight to the next little clip. Let's see if I can find the end of that instruction. Looks like it's right there. So let me just go right there and split. And then I'm going to delete that. And then I'm going to take the video that I had before. I'm going to put it back in. I'm going to find that lull in the conversation when I switched from talking about Movie Maker. Oh, I got to, in order to see it, kind of have to drag the audio up again. And I think I went too far. Right there. There's that split when I was talking about one to the other on my recording. I'm going to split. Delete, move all clips, and then I go back down here, and I'm going to crossfade that out again. So it goes from the Movie Maker discussion. Hit save movie, and then go have your lunch. Okay, so Movie Maker, does the basics of what we need.
Okay, so I talk a little bit about Movie Maker and then say, hey, let's take a look at Powerdirector. Somewhere down here, I finished talking about Powerdirector.
It works. So let's take a look at Powerdirector.
Okay, so I'm going to split that, and the next thing that's going to go in here is what we're recording right now. So obviously that doesn't make much sense. I'm not going to be able to finish this in front of you. I want to show you a couple other things that I do in my videos that make it look like I'm doing other stuff at the same time. So, and that's how to use other tracks and how to do some fades. So right now I've got this track right here that we're looking at. In fact, I'm going to go in File and save this project because I'm actually going to use it to be the one that I upload to YouTube in a little bit. If I wanted to work in this little window, it's kind of tough, but I can drag and open these windows up for specific parts of it. I want to drag this one too. Now we can see the audio a little bit. If I want to mute a certain part of the video, like let's say I coughed in the middle, or right here at the end, I can take this sound line and drop it to 0. I have to hold down the Control key, and you can see when I click on there, I mark a spot, and then I can click on another spot, and look what I can do. I can drag it all the way down. I could fade out the sound. I could just fade it down a little bit. If I got really loud in one portion, I can change it. That fades that sound out. So now when I listen to the end of this,
Take a look at Powerdirector.
I didn't really notice because honestly, we were done talking then. But let's take a look at doing the exact same thing with the video. I can hold down my Control key, and then when I click on here, it makes a spot, and then I can go down to the end. I can do the same. Oh. There we go. I can go down to the end. I can do the same thing. Oh, I'm not grabbing what I want. Let's see if I can grab the line there a little better. It's hard. I'm looking at. There we go. And you can see I can drag this down as far as I want to, and that will make that section fade out the video then.
To Powerdirector, it's just whatever you can find the least expensive works. So let's
See, I started early. It made a really, really gradual fade as it went out there. If you would rather fade between scenes, that's one of the ways you can just fade out that one thing. And when I go to click on it, you see the trash can? I can also do that, and it throws away that point. So if I'm clicking on there, if I click on it with the trash can, you can see that point just went away, and it's no longer there. Oh, I clicked. Let me click-a-deed off of it. There we go. There we go. Let me see if I can get the trash can back. I want to get rid of this one. I can't seem to get rid of that end one. See if I can get rid of the middle one. There we go. Oh, it moved everything down to that line. We didn't want to do that either. I'm going to hit Control Z and Control Z. I'm going to just leave it just like that so I don't mess something up. So let's talk about how to get other videos in our video as well. I'm going to shrink these back down because I'm not going to play with these. I'm going to add my closing video. Sure, we'll add my closing video right here on top of that one. Now if we go here and we look at how the videos work, it's kind of the opposite of OBS Studio. On OBS Studio, the thing on top is the thing you saw. In this, the thing on the bottom is the thing, so it layers the opposite direction. So you can see this on top. I can now change the size of this so we could talk about something and have a different video, and you saw this many times in my thing, a different video playing up in the background. So I'm going to go ahead and play this and kind of show you. It's going to come in and play up there. We don't want the sound. If I don't want the sound, I can go down here and right-click on it and say Mute Clip. Now this sound, this clip down here makes no audio at all. When I get to it, it's going to come in, and that video is just going to play up there on top while I'm talking. I can also take any clip, and I'm going to go ahead and say split and get rid of the end and say, you know what, I want this to fade in and fade out.
Now I can go and pull those lines down to do that, but I can also right click and say Edit Movie. And you've got a bunch of things here. One of them is Enable Fade In and Fade Out. And now when I'm playing that preview up here, that video is going to come up here. It's going to fade in because it's supporting whatever I'm talking about, like a PowerPoint, and then it's going to fade out and go away. So you saw I used that a lot in this video while I was doing that as well. There's a lot of features on PowerDirector, and I would take hours to go through them all. I just kind of wanted to show you that, and the last thing I wanted to show you is that you can use it for text. There's all these different effects and things you can do it, but I've got a text thing that if I want to add text on top of that part of the video, which you saw that I did in the one, I can go and take this text, I can resize it, I can make it faded in the background. All I have to do is double click on it, and I've got all kinds of options for doing, I'm looking around my camera, there we go, for doing this text that I can again fade in, fade out in the back of my thing. That was so short in PowerDirector. It was 10 minutes of a basic intro on PowerDirector, which is all I can give you because I can't show you everything. I could just say that I really like this piece of software. I think it's easier to use than almost anything else. I hope you got something, a good takeaway today to use back in your own classrooms. As I've said multiple times now, I think including you, because you're the most important part of the instruction, is important. Greenscreening gives us a way to do that in a high quality manner, to have the instruction that we've done traditionally integrated as video with us for our students. Additionally, Greenscreening gives us the ability to put us in new places, in new ways, to add effects with very little cost in the end. That might be that one thing that grabs students and brings them back to our classroom. If you've got any questions, please feel free to email me. All of my links should be included on the bit.ly over there. That's a shared Google Doc. Thanks a lot for coming, and have a great conference.